highly sensitive boy. And at a very young age, you already feel so much around you. And sometimes you're overwhelmed by emotions during the day or even in your dreams. And you like to live on the edge of the symphony in nature, for example, sailing. And you interact with women more often than with men at a very young age. And so much more. That's what we discussed in our interview with Marc Amerigo. I'll read his bio aloud so you have a bit of a background, and you can also read it at the page of the International HSP Center. So Marc Amerigo has an unusual profile, mixing his engineering background and a deep human approach in which his high sensitivity has taken a key role. He leads extreme projects in industry and in extreme sports to chase and achieve world records. He loves interdisciplinarity and knows how to create bridges across different fields, very different fields, by the way. His powerful human leadership and his expertise allow to push back the limits with his teams and clients. Because UltraPerformance has nothing to do with putting more pressure on humans, Marc Amerigo's deepest belief as an entrepreneur and extreme project leader is that today's organizations can take a whole new breath by transforming pure performance into UltraPerformance through human empowerment. And his know-how is to enable his clients to break their current glass ceilings step by step, based on a strategic and dedicated support of decision makers. He reaches various international audiences through impactful keynotes and customized transformational seminars to open the doors of UltraPerformance through human empowerment. Enjoy! Here's Marc Amerigo.
Boo!
Hi, let's find you. How did you perceive the world around you at that age? How old were you here?
Exactly as you can see the picture. It's for me at that age, it's something, it's a pure exploration every single day. In the meantime, at that time, I was struggling with what I could feel that was so deep. I would almost speak about spirituality, you know. But in the meantime, I was looking at this world, and at some point, I didn't understand a few things from the adults, you know, this special environment. So that was my childhood was great because it was pure exploration. I was inventing things, understanding, trying to understand everything around me. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of very positive things. And in the meantime, I was struggling with my emotions and I would say the normal world. So,
yeah. Can you give us a practical example how you were struggling with emotions during the day and also in your dreams?
I would say that everything was impacting me, like every single word, every single attitude of an adult or kids around me. I was terrified by school because most of the time in my childhood we're always late. My mother, we were always late. So I was really arriving at school at the very last minute. So the entire school, all the kids were playing together, you know, just like jumping in this wild world. That was really, really tough. And I was relieved when we were just going all together. The class was going together before entering the room. And that's the moment where everything was like, okay, now it's like under control, it's calm again. So I was really waiting for this moment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it has an extra impact, especially as a highly sensitive child. When you rush into the classroom and you have the feeling that everyone is observing you.
Exactly. You feel like when you enter the outside. I mean, you enter not the room, but outside the classes. You know, where all the kids are playing together, and you feel like everybody's watching you, which is nonsense. But that's what you feel, and you're like a stranger in your own place where you're supposed to be, and you don't want to be there. So you just want to fly away.
Yeah.
So I mean, the best balance I could find was to arrive so late that I didn't have to spend time with everybody outside and just like rush in the class and have my desk as usual and be like in a comfortable and safe place. So, you know, it's something in between. I loved arriving very, very early because I was like in control and seeing who's here and playing with people. But I have a very good relationship with the others. But still, two things: arriving very early or arriving at the very last second. That was like the only thing where I could feel comfortable. But in between, forget it. That was a nightmare,
And
really.
now, what do you do as an adult? What did you choose to do with your time? Too
Now
soon
it's now
or
it's
too
now
early?
it's totally different because I could build my confidence, my own confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I can arrive in a place at any moment because I step in with my own energy. It's feeling like you shine and you mix the energies with the others, and that it's okay because you feel like you're legitimate. Um, so it doesn't mean that you will be talking and you know bring the attention on you,
Yeah.
but you feel like it's all good. I mean, everything is in balance. The universe is in balance, so it's okay. You can leave. You can be there. You're legitimate. So it's totally different now. But
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I mean, like, I was not at that stage at all. I was just like having all these things coming at me, so much emotion, so much impact from the outside. That and in the meantime, my brain was just like analyzing everything. So it was like kind of chaos.
Yeah. 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 And how old were you here? What
Sorry.
in this picture? How old were you?
Well, I think I was 3.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
With the big eyes, and I mean, this picture is exactly what people could see from me. That's the kind of kid I was, you know. The big eyes, watching everything, asking thousands of questions, finding ideas, playing just by I didn't need any special game. I was able to play with anything around me and create my own world.
Mm-hmm.
So this kid was cool. Even if inside it was like stormy, really, really stormy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what dreams did you have?
Oh, um, I was between two worlds: nightmares, um, very strong nightmares. Um, I think my mother was scared. Um, something between being peaceful and
Mm-hmm.
at some point, some nightmares. I was really struggling with monsters around me, bad souls, many things were around me just aggressing me, you know. So it's been tough. I didn't understand what happened, and I really, at some point, I locked the box. I locked the connection to this dark world. Totally, really. It was I couldn't. I couldn't accept that anymore. I mean, I would die. So I really escaped from that somehow. I don't know how. I don't know what happened exactly. I don't know how I locked it, but for sure I did that. I was fed up with these like scary moments, really. So that's I mean, something which is between a dark side and light, you know. And you're just trying to find your way. So it's like several different layers. You got the one which is the normal world, when it's the day people live around you. They have their, I would say, normal life. You feel that people are just living the time being. So that's the normal thing. And people fight at each other, they yell at each other, they have sometimes nice words, bad words, but that's like one layer. Mm-hmm. But then when you go further in the emotions, in the connection to our environments, it becomes like stronger, more powerful. And then there's this dark side. So on one side you shine, and you have this emotion with the others, and people look at you and they say very nice things to you because you feel the connection that you create. And in the meantime, you are totally connected with the dark side. And those two things, I mean, are just around you like full time. So, I mean, it's like, it's very special and scary. So at some point, I just like wanted to stop that. Absolutely stop that. I didn't want to feel any more emotions. I didn't want to be overwhelmed with what was around me. I wanted just to step out of this nightmare.
Mm-hmm. At what age was that?
I think around 8. Yeah. It's been going on, you know, it's not something that, it's not like locking the door, but more and more I escaped from that. Yeah. I had some like weird experiences. I don't want to live that anymore. Really weird. Wow.
Yeah. So you have French and Italian roots.
Yep. My grandfather was Italian, and the other side of the family is more French and north of France. Mm-hmm. So Marseille, the very north of France, and Italy near San Remo. In a very small village named is Costa Renera by the sea, a very nice village. Yeah. And there are a lot of Amerigos there. When you go in the village, I went there like not a long time, 2 years ago again. I went back there and you see Amerigos in the houses, on the box letters everywhere. So it's like, it was funny.
Yeah, there must be a wonderful experience to see your name everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite surprised because you see it once. I say, oh, it's cool, there's one here. And then another one, and then another one. And then you got tens of them. It's quite funny.
Yeah. So what effect did the Italian upbringing had on you, for example, at the age of 5? From the age of 5?
I would say my father, and I love him, my father wanted me to be tough, and I was highly sensitive. So something for him, something was wrong, you know, because I think he's also very sensitive, but doesn't want to really
acknowledge.
Acknowledge and live with this, I'm sure. But on my side, he wanted me to be tough, you know, the tough boy, strong guy. So the best thing for him was for me to practice judo, which is great for a kid to grow and be stronger, and you know, it's about the development. It's great, and it's true. But he missed the point that for me there was a nightmare every single time. So it was a judo trainer, and also he was working with a great champion, Jean-Paul Koch, who's been at the best level for the Olympics and for the World Championships. So a wonderful judoka. And so I was with them, I was close, so I had to perform, you know, so I was pretty good. But for me, just confronting with the others, just going on the tatami and 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 being in some kind of violence, that was very difficult. And so many people around, and you're connected to people, you know, you have them against you, you're on the floor. So many things, you know, to deal with for me. And every single time it was very difficult. At the end of the training, I was happy because I could, you know, express myself. So that was good. But on the other side, most of the time I was crying when I was going there. You know? My grandfather was taking me there sometimes, was just like, you know, very annoyed. I was crying. So, but the funny thing is, so I was performing pretty well. I could have maybe done much better and compete at a high level. And I made a choice at some point to study instead of going and training a lot. And so I never could pass my black belt before my secondary studies. So I stopped at the brown belt, which is just before. And 20 years later, 25 years later, I came back to the judo club with my kids just to pass this black belt. So from a kid who didn't want to practice judo, 20 years later, with my confidence and how I grew up, I went back to judo. I practiced, I passed my black belts in competition with kids who were so excited with so much energy. It was all about control and playing with their energy. You know, judo is all about how you take the energy of the other and you transform it to tackle him, to show that you're stronger and with more technical skills. Yeah. So, and actually I loved it. You know, so that was like the end of the story, from struggling to enjoying. Mm-hmm. So I think I thank my dad for that, but it's been so difficult for years. Like I started at 5. I think I could feel the same for maybe 6 years till 11, 12. It was a nightmare. Then I was feeling better. You know, so you're the tough boy. You need to be the tough guy. Not sure it's the best thing to do with an HSP. No, for sure. Yeah. No.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because there are so many highly sensitive children who don't want to be toughened up. And it's really nice that you're sharing your experience, because sometimes it can be overwhelming when you do a certain sport that's not really into your line of temperament. Yeah.
But I think that's something good to know about, is through this experience, what I'm expressing just about my life, but through this, I think there are two things for the kids to be aware that even if they don't feel comfortable, it's okay to go there, to be overwhelmed. It's okay. It's okay, because you kind of person makes that you will be overwhelmed. When you're aware of it, it's different. For example, if you don't know that you're going to be overwhelmed and you don't know where it comes from, you feel like you're different from the others and that you're a freak. You know, why are you crying when you're fighting with another kid? At some point you start crying, you know. And if people accept that and say, okay, it's part of you, I mean, it's like something that you have in you, and it's okay. It's totally different than being there and being, oh, you're different, why are you crying, it's stupid. You know, it's totally different. And even for the adults, it's the same. Bring your kid in an environment where you don't put him on fire, you know, on the fire, like this. Just like, it's okay at some point to go there, but just like make it slowly, understand the problems that he will have to deal with. You know, the everyday life is already difficult enough for this kind of kids and adults. So in the evening when you go training, you don't want to add some more, problems. But you had a long day already. I mean, and sometimes the night was awful. And then in the evening at 7 p.m., you go training with the others, and it's another piece of nightmare. Life becomes kind of unbearable.
Yeah.
You just want to get out.
Yeah.
So that might be at some point, the impact can be huge on kids because they can just like want to give up.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be very careful, really.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice for the parents.
Mm.
Yeah, and I totally understand the word unbearable for children, because my experience with and what I hear from the parents who send their children to judo when they don't want to, or karate, is that they come in, they go lay flat on the mat, and then they're over with. They just say, "Okay, I lost, done. I'll go to the bench. It's over."
Yeah. I mean, imagine that most of the time these kids have difficult nights because maybe of the day before. Okay, they wake up in the morning. Depending on the family where they live in, the morning starts like under pressure. Speed up, like you have to eat something, drink that, go to the shower, blah 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 blah, like rush. So you can be stressed up already. And then you go to school, you enter the school and you're scared because of the others. And then you're in the room, at some point, it's like the calm moment if you're a good kid. I mean, if you have good results. But it can be also a nightmare for these kind of kids, it's not because they are clever and highly emotional and they feel things that they perform at school. Most of the time, it can be the opposite. And then in the evening, you go training at a place where you don't want to be, and then you come back home and you go to bed. Well,
Yeah, I'm curious about your teenage years. What was it like as a highly sensitive teen?
I had a good time because there was a moment where I was really exploring. I was becoming more independent in what I was doing. When I was 15, 16, I wouldn't accept from my kids what I've done with my parents, like going sailing in crazy wind and stormy conditions just by myself or with just a friend, I got a story about that, like in Marseille with very stormy, like 40 knots, which is about 80 kilometers an hour of wind and really big waves. There was, I think, like some of the waves were like 3-4 meters, so it's quite big. And my sailing boat was not that big. It was just 9 meters, an old boat, but quite efficient. I had like everything redone on the boat. So I really knew my boat. And that day we went sailing downwind, full speed with a friend of mine. And it was Francois. We were at school together, a brilliant guy. I love this guy. And he was reading poetry from Baudelaire. And he was totally unconscious of the situation and had to deal with this very critical situation of big waves and the boat starting surfing at high speed, going down each wave. And we were up to like 10 knots, 10, 11 knots on such a boat is crazy because the boat is like cruising at 5. So the boat was really falling into the wave. And Francois was okay, sitting on the back, reading this thing. And I was dealing with the sails and surfing. So strong, so noisy around. It's like you get the noise when you go down on the wave, and then all of a sudden it's calm again. And then you rebuild the speed, and again, you start, and you can't go sideways a little bit, because if you go a little bit sideways with the sailboat when you start, at some point you don't have any control anymore with the steering wheel. You don't have, you can't control it because you don't have pressure on it. You're with the water, so you can't move your boat on its way. So if you don't engage properly, you can go sideways and then a wave takes you and like puts you on the side. It can be a disaster. So I had to focus on this. And in the meantime, I was listening to Francois. And that was wonderful because it was really pure performance on one side, and on the other side, like hearing the keywords of the poetry and seeing my friend just being totally confident, you know.
Yeah, like a symphony on the edge.
Yeah, it's everything had to be tuned up perfectly, and everything that was really, really an incredible moment. And I mean, and that lasts like 4 hours, you know. So I love this moment. So when I was a teenager, I really enjoyed life. I was going windsurfing. I had good friends. I was scared when I shifted to the school in the center of Marseille, because I was first up to 11 years old. From 11 years old up to 14, in a very bad place of Marseille, in the city. So I learned what is the tough, worst places of Marseille. So that was my environment. And then I shifted to a very famous place inside Marseille. So I was shifting from the neighborhood and the bad side of the neighborhood to the very center of the city with a very big school with many kids. So at this moment, I was difficult, but then I got used to it and had a good time. Yeah. And then I became an adult. Life changes.
What was it like for you to interact with women as a highly sensitive young man at the time?
All my life, I had very nice girlfriends without being girlfriends, but I mean, I was friends with many girls and boys, but a lot of girls, always a lot of girls around me, always been all my life. Maybe because of my sensitivity, I could understand things, even if I'm not very diplomat in the way I've expressed things. Sometimes I say weird things without knowing that it's can be, not well perceived sometimes, because I'm still a boy, you know. But in the meantime, I could feel many things. So I always had many girls, friends around me, but not many girlfriends. In my life, I mean, I didn't have many women around me because it's not my thing, you know. It's not my thing. And people understand that. I think that through my behavior, people feel that I'm not here to have sex with the others. You know, it's not my goal, and it's not my thing. Even if I love it, but it's another thing. But in the meantime, being connected to people is a lot more powerful than having a relationship. So always been like this, like interacting with many women, always.
Yeah. So what do women need to know about a highly sensitive man? What do you want them to know?
I would say that it's complex. It's a complex relationship for sure, because I would say a standard man, is readable. You can know how he will react, more or less, you know. A highly sensitive man, I think, is much more complex, because the emotions are so present that one word can be so impactful. So, you know, it's not like one sentence can stay in your mind for years. Just one sentence. And women, from what I feel, love to push the limits and say things, test, push. And standard doesn't make sense, but what I mean, someone who's not HSP will not be overwhelmed by this. They will go on and say, okay, and then they forget. Somehow they forget. Highly sensitive men, in this kind of confrontation, it's much more difficult to handle. So what I will say is that sensitivity is great. It's a great potential for connection, huge potential for connection. But we need women and HSPs need to care at each other, taking care of the other, listening, understanding, being very careful on how you communicate. Because it can be a disaster. So it's something that is like, with so much more, everything is amplified. So there is so much more bandwidth of connection, So it's great for women. It's great because it's a way of interacting on a very high level. And in the meantime, it's quite delicate. It's quite sensitive. So I think it's great. I mean, I'm very happy to be able to feel so much, even if sometimes it's too much. But for women, I think it's a great opportunity to understand in a better way men, because every single man is sensitive. Then there's the education, the beliefs, and most of the men I see during my talks, they are not that tough. None of them, I would say none. Like in every single talk, I could see men, the tough guys, just letting go. They've been playing a role, they've been playing the game of the society, and at some point they say, okay, good to hear someone like you talking about, you're an engineer, but you're sensitive. You're on the technical side, but in the meantime, you're on the human side, connecting. And it's a real relief. So I could feel that. So it's all men have this at a very high level.
Thank you.
So that's what I will say. Yeah. It's a great opportunity. I've always been very close to gay people. I mean, I had many friends who are gay, or who are gay, and because these guys, they are highly sensitive. It's all about connection, and they struggle so much with this. Their life is difficult in this world. So there's a lot to learn.
Because they are empowered in their feminine energy, you mean?
Yeah, it's a lot about feminine energy with some kind of sensitivity, and most of the time they're highly sensitive. Yeah, I don't know how to deal with this. From what I've seen, I mean, from my experience.
Yeah, the thing is that because of the feminine energy, many highly sensitive men are perceived to be gay, which is not always the case. Definitely not. And but it's wonderful that you include this within your story. That
I mean, all my childhood and when I was a teenager, I always had gay people coming at me. And also on my side, I never had any experience. I mean, I had some offers, but I never had any, I would say, relationship other than friendship. But it was always great and deep, you know. It's a whole palette of colors, of emotions, with those both feminine and masculine side. But from me, I hear a lot of friends, they want to explore and push the feminine side, like the woman power and all these things. It's like black power, you know, black power. It's a reaction to an unbalanced world, you know. But for me, it's a whole. You can't split that. There's no barrier or frontier between the feminine side and the masculine side. Absolutely not. And starting with the paradigm that there is this feminine side that need to be pushed up, I think is just a counterbalance because we need that, but it's absolutely unaligned. It's not aligned. You cannot split them. And where it's powerful, it's when you create bridges. You cross the lines, you know, this interaction, full interaction.
Cross vision, just like in your work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't have the technical side and the human side. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you just look at the technical side, you can achieve some pretty good, even world-class results. But if you want to go beyond and think about the future of our society, you have the technical side is necessary. But when you bring the pure human connection and you interact with all these things, that's where magic happens, really where it happens. So it's the same with human beings. Let's put all these things together. HSPs, they have their behavior, they have their problems to deal with, all these things, but these people are just one kind among others. And they are not freaks, they are not different, they are like one continuity where something has been pushed forward more than others.
Yeah, it's a neutral trait. So yeah.
Totally. I mean, you can put blind people the same way, any kind of handicap, athletes, they're one kind where you push their physical performance at the highest level. Poets, they have another kind of mindset and way of working. Engineers, and you put all these people together, and they're all just one kind where our mind, behavior, learnings, beliefs, education created a difference. And that's where this complexity is great. So, but you need to be aware of that. If you're not aware, if an athlete, a future athlete, is not aware of his ability to be strong and fast, he will never be an Olympic champion. He will never, expand. And that's the same for HSPs. They need to, how do you say that? HSPs and any kind of high-level people, you need to know what you have within you. You need to be educated with this know-how, this conscience of what you have in you.
Thank you.
Because when you live with without knowing it, you're just like, what the hell's going on? These guys, they just feel okay, and I'm not. I'm emotional. I'm crying, or I'm desperate, or I'm angry, and all the others they look like everything is normal. I'm not normal. But if you know that that's your particularity, that's how you live, that's what you have within you, it makes a whole difference. I could experience that with my kids. They are highly sensitive, and it's been like long discussions about how they deal with what they have within them. It helped them a lot to keep their balance. Yeah. So as parents, be aware of the kind of kid that you have and talk about it with them. Don't hide it. It's okay. It's very important for them to know what they have within them. so they can be comfortable with it, learn from it, grow with it, understand why they behave one way or another, and then they can really expand themselves and make of this particularity a strength instead of a weakness. This changes your whole life, totally.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marc.
Yeah. That's just my own experience. Just sharing it.
Yeah.
If it can help, I mean, just one person, if it can help one person, one kid, one woman, one man, parents, that would be a great gift.
Yeah. I know for sure with all the experience you shared that you have reached the right people that needed to hear this today.
I hope so.
Thank you, Marc.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you for your time. Hi, I am a highly sensitive man.